Ask him. Good morning, Mayor.
Hofmann, good morning.
Good morning. Oh, I guess like kind of congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you. And my colleagues of MTM, as well as Chalampago,
Yep,
as
Jessica
well
Glee.
as the Vice Mayor of Barragata and the Mayor of Manila also running
got that.
unopposed. So
Yeah.
congratulations to them as well.
Well, that's good. So they can focus on. You guys can focus on cleaning up the village and stuff instead of having to worry about campaigning.
Yes, and then we also we usually have a standing rule within our colleagues is whoever's running unopposed has to handle organizing the Christmas party. That's kind of the way it works. Because it's less work for them, and they'll still work, but at least they don't have they can have that extra time to also help plan something. So I think it's along that lines too.
Well, let me know if you guys need an MC.
We will.
I know a guy.
But this is going to be I'll be going into my 5th term now.
Wow.
2 terms as vice mayor and 2 terms as mayor, and I've not had an opponent.
There you go.
Wow.
So, yeah.
They love you.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I guess I just want to ask, do you ever think about running for a higher office?
My friends used to always tell me, why join the circus when you can watch for free? So that's always been
You guys got a little bit of a circus there at the Mayor's Council, too, sometimes.
True. But I don't know. I'm in my element. I enjoy what I do, and I get to really make the biggest impact, I think, at the local level, where I really feel that government works when it's down at this level.
Yeah.
And that is so true.
Yeah, you're right. And we saw that in the pandemic. I mean, you guys were the main people that we were talking to for the last few months, and we wanted to know what was going on at the village level, because a lot of times Adelup doesn't know. They're doing their thing. We call you guys, we get you on the phone, and I want to say that we got closer during this pandemic.
Yes, thank you, and we appreciate the opportunity to just kind of help spread the word. We do our jobs, and we're out there. We get the word out to the people, and you've been a very vital tool, and you're playing a very important role in the delivery of services. So
please stop it some more.
Why not have that relationship?
Right.
I think there's a role that the media does play.
Yeah, and I think this during this pandemic, so much of our job, so to speak, was really just getting critical information out there. And that was, I want to say that was like 90% of our job. I mean, there were times where we were able to comment and talk about, how we felt about some of the decisions being made. But, every morning we woke up, that was what motivated us. It was like we got information that, we know people are listening and they got to hear it. And, we put it out there, and I feel like we put out the information that people needed to know in a way that, was unbiased, and it was in a platform that they could get the info. I mean, we're critical because we're coming from a place where we're just trying to stick up for the little people. So that always kind of colors what we do. But you're right. It was so much of it was, hey, go here to do this. Hey, this is what's happening. Hey, you got to stay home until this date. So
exactly. And I think that's the thing, is that you helped get people to the testing sites. They would have not known how to do it. And so without having that ability to reach out to the masses saying, here's where everything is, here's what's going on, it really, people rely on that information. So it was very helpful. So we appreciate it. So
thank you, Mayor.
We work together.
Right. So let's get right into it with this. There's an executive order that was signed. They reactivated the interagency homeless task force, or whatever it's called. So you're on it, and I know Lieutenant Governor Josh had really name dropped the Mayor's Council as being kind of a key part in solving this homeless puzzle. So if you could just kind of tell us what your involvement is, and anything else you can tell us about this executive order.
Sure. Executive Order 20-23 reinstitutes the Interagency Council, and was the first time that this Interagency Council is actually going to include the Mayor's Council, which we were dumbfounded why it wasn't there in many moons ago. I would say decades ago when it was created, because people who at the minute they're either homeless or the risk of homelessness, they come to the mayors, they ask for assistance, they ask for where they can stay, and we've extended what we could, but there was always a gap in how the delivery of services happens. Most of these agencies that do have the ability to help only know what their agency role is, so they don't know where else to refer other people, because you're an expert of what you know. And so what this does now is it puts people in the same page, which I really feel is great, and it gets us all talking about the issues. Many of these agencies and departments receive some sort of money to help poverty prevention or homelessness. And it only made sense to kind of put everybody now and saying, okay, this is now all the things the homeless and the people who are facing poverty or struggling, this is what they can apply for and can get. And so we naturally asked, and when we were asked to be involved, we said, sure, this is, we're facing it. And, they say if you want something done, ask a mayor. So we said, sure, we'll step up to it. So, it's just an additional role that we're taking on. We already do the Manumco centers and the senior centers. We take care of the adult daycares. And so this is an additional duty that we feel as a community. We said, this is something we can do. So, and it all starts off with just even doing basic verifications, because that's a barrier to them getting IDs is how do you certify somebody that lives in a village when they're homeless, when they're a transient population? So we said, why don't we create the office that creates this and can certify this by using the point in time count and everything, all these other sorts. So it's great. We look forward to working with the Homeless Coalition, all our partners, all the civic groups, and with the foreign governments, because now that it's a government type agency with the Office of Homelessness Assistance and Poverty Prevention, that also gives it the full weight of the government of Guam, saying we're speaking on behalf of government for this dear consulate here. What can we do? Mm-hmm. So, there's many aspects of what can happen on it. If you've read the executive order, we're excited about it. Is it perfect? We know it'll never be perfect, but what's great is it can adapt, and the recommendations that the Interagency Council will make and all the adjustments that need to be can be met. It's not going to be set there, and that's where we can speak for our people at the legislature, we're at the federal level, saying here we go. We hear the accurate counts of what we know. Here's the cases that we know. So, GUR is excited, Mass Transit is excited, the Veterans Affairs Office is excited, because, public health, because these are the agencies that already deal with homelessness.
Mm-hmm. So what exactly is it just bringing in the Mayor's Council into the fold, the new, new part of this interagency council for
that's
coordinating?
One of the aspects, and then it's almost like a one-stop now. So if you're an individual that's been homeless out there, if you're not in the point-in-time count system, then that's usually what they use as a baseline to kind of figure out what services you need, what happened, why you're in your situation. So that kind of it creates a place where you can actually come in and say I'm homeless, and then you create that file. Mm-hmm. Then you end up in the system. So for all these new ones that were displaced because of COVID or evicted because of other reasons, this is kind of where they'll end up having to go to do that. And it'll also help kickstart their case management and files. We're saying, okay, based on your situation, you can go, we can get you the referral for you can get SNAP assistance, or you can get up depending if they're victims of domestic violence or, persons with AIDS or something, then there's routes to go. Oh, you're a veteran? Well, we can get you here to a veteran's voucher. So most people don't know what services are out there, and most departments and agencies don't have a dedicated. They have somebody who's familiar with the process or the program, but it's not a dedicated place where you can walk in and say, can I see the homeless coordinator? Mm-hmm. Or, it's a person within a department saying, oh yeah, we receive a percentage of money, but it's not necessarily my main job. So at least now it won't be, we say the mayors can do it because, they're constantly looking at us saying, here, can we get food or can we get assistance? And so we always do that in times of disaster. We're their biggest champions, because we're trying to figure out how we can get these, our brothers and sisters safe to safe areas. So we're glad to be included in the discussion, and we're glad to be included in the Interagency Council.
Mayor, what about the shelter? I talked to Jess Garcia of DPW yesterday, and he said something about what was out there was RFP or whatever bid for a warehouse. Can you just tell us what the situation is with the bid?
I know they're looking for spaces for the evening drop-in shelter, where only evenings they can come in and stay, and then there's some that are looking for units and looking for viable space. There's a lot of options that we're trying to look at, but the issue we have is what's available is very, very scarce, and it either doesn't meet the need of the standard or doesn't pass the muster recommendation by the CDC. And some of the heartbreaking things is you see an area that, hey, this might be ideal. You're online searching for it, and somebody says, hey, this is going for X amount of money, and then when you're trying to negotiate, suddenly a different price because they're saying, you're bringing homeless here. Oh, then it's going to be a different price. And so those are the things where like, wow, that's really ever shouldn't be the case, because I'm not sure the stigma of poverty in the community on that end, but they're they can contribute to society. And
right. But I think maybe if you have like a former Parks and Rec director who's saying that, oh, they're trashing all the parks and they're a nuisance and this and that, then obviously, people who are trying to respond to this, maybe that's what they're thinking because our government was just saying it the other week.
Yes, and that's very unfortunate. And
Yeah.
that's the thing is, we have families who are living in their cars, and these are going to be, so there's going to be priority lists of how we can get these things in there. We have, get the families taken care of, get the long term, get those that are, the most qualified in the sense of, those that are most at risk to COVID. And so it's putting them in those areas. And then sometimes some of the homelessness are just situations are caused by family disputes or things. And so sometimes those referrals can just be getting, intervention in there, getting some mediation, getting some professionals there. And then some of it is, they lack proper building materials or, they're kicked out for a specific reason or whichever else, or some of the other reasons we were talking about and exploring is some of them can't stay in certain federal housing because of certain charges. And depending how old those charges are this is something we're willing to look at to see, asking the governor, making the recommendations to the parole board or the pardon board and saying, hey, this is a marijuana charge that's 40 years old. Is this something we can talk about? Is this negotiable so that we can reunite these families and do something? So, we're trying our best to see, because there's no one direct way to do it.
Right. It just, to me though, I gotta say, I don't know if this is what you would consider it as a distraction to the fact that we still don't have a hardened shelter or a shelter for the homeless. So, you know what, let's put this out and show, look what we've done. We've reconstituted the interagency council, and we're putting the mayors at the front of this, when we've known for the past several months that the mayors should have been at the front of this, because you guys are the ones on the ground and you know what's happening in your villages. So it's like, this is great. Okay, it's on paper. But at the end of the day, you guys have always known what's been happening in your villages when it comes to homeless. But what we don't have, and what we've been talking about for how many months now, is this hardened homeless shelter. So thank you for this executive order.
Yeah, it's hard
And is this,
for that.
just because we have this executive order, does this mean that we're going to have a hardened homeless shelter like today or tomorrow?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I know there's still a group out looking for it. They're engaged. I know Jesse John and the rest of those people are still looking at it, GSA, and they're looking at it. Our role is in the Office of Homelessness Assistance and Poverty Prevention. Yeah. We talked about, we want to make sure that we get the bodies there, the qualified people, move those personnel, those agencies down there. We can transfer them now here. And then at the same time, it's going to be space. So we're looking at space near the Mayor's Council also to either rent and, so we're not so far away from the administrative offices, but, assuming the administrative duties of running an office, that's going to be something that we've looked at for us as a council, and we feel we can still do it. And so, we're rising up to the challenge on it. And, if it doesn't work out, we can make the recommendations in the year after this.
If it doesn't work out, give it back to Adelup, because I feel like they just, pass the buck to you guys in a major way. I mean, that's good. I feel like you guys are the ones who should execute it.
But
I think it's hard which agency to handle, because it always says, well, I can help homeless, but I can only help the food part. So every agency was hard to kind of saying, who wants to run this office? And we're like, okay, fine, we'll do it. We're general. So the Mayor's Council basically became general government affairs and operations, because it's hard to peg it into one office, which is completely understandable.
Yeah, and I get it. I mean, the hardened homeless shelter, it's so frustrating. I'm just so pissed about it. But on the other side of it, this interagency council is going to fill in that other half. Yes, of course, we want to get a roof over their head, but when we start talking about long-term solutions, collating all these agencies that will respond to this issue. And I mean, to me, I agree with Rhea, it's a little late, you know what I mean? But what can we do?
Well, the mayors are no nonsense, and you've seen that where times when we get these agencies in there, and because our frustrations were like that for the last. I've been in office for 16 years. Yeah. And the frustrations, whereas we either make referrals or we talk about these things, and sometimes we wonder, like, so what is it exactly that you do then, with the homeless money or with these emergency services? So it's nice to see that we've had a lot of agencies and directors step up to it, and they're like, yes, finally we can actually kind of work on this way. And so I think by being that government agency, that point person, it gives them also, that backing to say, okay, we have some support here in terms of referral services. So some of the things too that we looked at is some of these homeless want to return to their family members in the outer islands or into the States and be that. So, if it's eliminating and relocating and doing family reunification, that's going to be a great thing for
Right
us.
on.
And so, even if we move 10, 15 people, so we're going to slowly chip away at it. We understand that. And so that's how we understand the shelter. Hopefully we don't need the shelter. If we can get everybody mediated and taken care of, then that's great. But in reality, not everybody's also going to want to go into a shelter. We know that there's homeless out there that choose that life.
It's got to be an option, though. I don't think we can say that no one wants to go into the shelter unless we actually present it as an option. But Mayor, we got to run because we got Dr. McGlutney on, and there's so much going on with the COVID.
Awesome. No problem.
Thanks,
you.
Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Wash your hands.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Yeah, I think what's key here, Bree, and looking at the bigger picture, is there are so many homeless and poor on our island that we have had to formulate this response. I mean, now we have an office of homelessness assistance and poverty prevention because so many people are out here struggling and suffering. 7:13. Let's switch gears. Well, not